The winter meetings are happening right now, and Bob Nightingale just dropped a report that's going to change how everyone views the Dodgers' offseason strategy. Forget the massive splashes. Forget the $400 million contracts. The Dodgers are apparently taking a completely different approach, and honestly, it might be the smartest thing they could do. Nightingale's report is pretty clear. The Dodgers will get thrown into every rumor because of their payroll and the $80 million coming off the books. But the reality is they're not getting into bidding wars for Kyle Tucker, Cody Bellinger, or Edwin Diaz. They'll show interest, sure, they'll dip their toes in the water. But their real targets are Harrison Bader and Robert Suarez. Shorter deals, more flexibility, less long-term risk. The only scenario where they go big is if they trade Teoscar Hernandez. And that makes sense when you think about it. Hernandez is owed $26.5 million. Moving him would free up a ton of money to pursue those elite names. But trading him also creates a hole you then have to fill, probably with an even more expensive player. So unless they're absolutely certain they're landing Tucker or someone at that level, keeping Hernandez is the smarter play. This isn't the sexy approach fans want to hear about. People want blockbuster signings. They want the Dodgers to flex their financial muscle and grab the biggest names available. But there's real logic behind going shorter term with guys like Suarez instead of committing massive money long term to someone like Edwin Diaz. Suarez and Diaz have similar price tags, but Suarez would be a shorter commitment. That gives the Dodgers flexibility in future years when other elite free agents become available. And both Brandon Gomes and Andrew Friedman have talked about being prepared for a potential salary cap. They don't know if it's coming or when it might happen, but they want to be ready. Locking up huge money for 5 or 6 years limits what you can do if the landscape changes. Right now, the Dodgers would have 13 players making over $10 million if they keep adding big contracts. That's sustainable for now, but it gets harder to manage if payroll restrictions come into play. So they're being strategic. They're thinking long-term, even while trying to win a third straight championship. An Athletic report backed this up, saying the Dodgers are focusing on shorter-term frameworks with the free agents they pursue. That works great for the team because they maintain flexibility, but it's tougher for players who want long-term financial security. Most top free agents are looking for those 6 or 7 year deals that set them up for life. The Dodgers are offering 2 or 3 years at higher annual values instead. That approach has already cost them some targets. They pursued Raisel Iglesias before he re-signed with the Braves on a 1-year deal. They tried for Ryan Helsley before he signed a 2-year contract with the Orioles. They went after Devin Williams before he took a 3-year deal with the Mets, all shorter-term guys who chose other situations. But the Dodgers keep trying because eventually someone is going to take their offer. Robert Suarez is the name that keeps coming up. $20 million over 3 years seems to be the market value. That's manageable. That's the kind of deal where if it doesn't work out, you move on without being handcuffed. And the stuff between Suarez and Ohtani from the World Baseball Classic, that's in the past. They made up at the All-Star game. They were joking around and having fun. If Ohtani is good with it, the Dodgers are good with it. 3 years feels like the maximum term they'd offer. More likely, it's 2 years at a higher average annual value, maybe 23 to 25 million total. That matches their philosophy of paying more per year but keeping the commitment short. You get the production you need right now without mortgaging future flexibility. The bullpen is really where this strategy makes the most sense. These are older, experienced guys who can still bring elite stuff but might not age well over 5 or 6 years. Signing them short-term lets you benefit from what they can do now while avoiding paying for declining years. And if they do decline faster than expected, you're only stuck for 2 or 3 years instead of half a decade. Next year's free agent class for relievers looks similar to this year's. Ryan Helsley has a player option. Aroldis Chapman will be available. Raisel Iglesias again. Taylor Rogers. A lot of the same types of arms. So if the Dodgers sign Suarez now on a short deal, they can go back to the market next year and do the same thing with whoever's available then. It's a repeatable strategy that keeps the bullpen fresh without long-term commitments. Position players are trickier. Harrison Bader is fine as a depth piece, but he's not a game changer. He's not the guy who pushes you over the top for a third straight championship. But if keeping Teoscar Hernandez means you can't afford Tucker or Bellinger, then adding Bader as a fourth outfielder makes sense. You're not creating a hole by trading Hernandez, and you're adding depth without breaking the bank. The real question is whether fans are okay with this approach. Do you want the Dodgers to bite the bullet and go for the big names, even if it means trading someone internally or committing huge money long term? Or do you trust Friedman and Gomes to make smart, smaller moves that keep the roster flexible while still competing for championships? There's something to be said for not panicking just because other teams are making splashy signings. The Mets grabbed Williams, the Orioles got Helsley, the Braves kept Iglesias. But none of those teams won the World Series last year. The Dodgers did, twice. Maybe their strategy of being patient and selective is actually working better than anyone wants to admit. Tanner Scott's situation probably influenced how they're thinking about this offseason. They paid him and it didn't work out the way they hoped. That kind of experience makes you reconsider how aggressively you pursue certain types of players. It makes you think harder about term versus annual value. It makes you more cautious about who you're committing to long term. The other factor is the farm system and internal development. The Dodgers have been building a homegrown bullpen with young arms who can develop into elite relievers. Signing veterans on short deals gives those young guys time to develop without blocking their path to the majors. You get production now while building for the future. So where does this leave the Dodgers? They're not going to be the team making headlines with massive signings at the winter meetings. They're going to be the team making calculated moves that don't generate buzz, but make sense when you look at the bigger picture. They're playing chess while other teams play checkers. Is it exciting? Not really. Is it smart? Probably. The Dodgers have won back-to-back championships by being smarter than everyone else, by finding value where others don't, by structuring contracts in ways that give them advantages, by thinking 3 years ahead instead of just focusing on next season. Robert Suarez on a short-term deal isn't going to make fans rush to buy tickets. Harrison Bader as a depth outfielder isn't going to trend on social media. But if those moves help them win a third straight championship while maintaining the flexibility to keep competing for the next 5 years, then Friedman and Gomes look like geniuses again. The winter meetings will continue. More names will sign, more rumors will fly, and the Dodgers will keep doing what they do, quietly building a roster that can win now and later. It's not flashy, but it works. And when you're already the best team in baseball, maybe that's all that matters.